I'm Joe Twarek. This is my wife, Abby. We have a small farm here just west of Columbus, Nebraska on Highway 30. We have a couple hundred acres of crop ground, and we have a couple hundred acres of pasture and hay meadow. We run about 50 cows and a corn and soybean rotation, and we have some hay we also cut. So we kind of farm on the side and work full-time in town. And our three boys help us quite a bit too.
We're kind of a family farm, the old-fashioned where you pitch in and everyone helps.
I'm Drew Wolf from Richland, Nebraska. We run a cow-calf and a stocker operation with a small feed yard. Fifth generation, it's ran by myself and my family, and then my sister and her family are also involved.
I'm Carissa Cluck. My husband is Brad Cluck. We live right outside of Richland, Nebraska. We are a cow-calf operation, and we have 3 kids. My husband has had this in the family for many years now, and nobody's ever seen a flood like what this was.
We had quite a bit of rain before that, and the snow had melted, but we went out to look at the water, and it wasn't that big of a deal out there, just some water like you'd expect. And then the next morning, when I was going to work, I went down the driveway, noticed to the east it was a little light now, and the whole thing was water, and I'd never seen that before, of course. So the highway was covered, and the emergency management was at the end of our driveway by the mailbox on the highway, stopping cars from coming from the west.
And as we sat here, we could see our hay bales floating away. Our neighbor's cows were floating away dead. There was propane tanks floating by. It looked like just a giant lake.
On March 14th, it started flooding. The Platte River, the ice jams backed it up. Lost Creek started to flow over into mine. You look down, the ridge come up. There was flood warnings for a while, but all of a sudden, you start seeing the water coming up out of the creek on our lower pasture, and you start driving around a little bit, and you see, even coming home from work, I had water running across the fields because it was coming so fast and heavy out of everything. Very unreal event that took place. I mean, we didn't lose a lot of livestock. It was our hay that we lost, our whole pasture hay meadow down there. It's next to one of our neighbors that lost many head of cattle.
I remember my dad was down here that morning at 8:10. He called me, and I was out west checking pears, and he said, hey, the water's coming over the lawn. You know, about an hour later, I come back and looked, and where we're standing right now, it was just out in this cornfield, starting to creep in. Kept doing some stuff. About 11 o'clock, I was like, hey, you know, it's getting to be a lot more water. And my niece and my daughter went out to the calving barn and put some pears back inside. My sister and myself and my son and her son, you know, we just started moving cattle around, doing what we could, opening gates. My wife was monitoring the water. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, she called and said, hey, it's over the stock tank out east here. I can see it's coming up more. That's when I said, you know, she should get out with my youngest daughter, and then my other daughter went with them. I heard there was 66-mile-an-hour gusts that day, and the livestock would not move. We tried moving baby calves and cows, and they just would not walk through the wind. We left about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and we were probably 2 hours too late. We should have left earlier. We hit some holes going out that went over the hood of the pickup, and I'd never stay again. There's no reason to. You're not gonna save anything, and you might lose your life.
We didn't have any way to get to Columbus for several days because we had to wait for the water to go down, of course. You'd have to go about 63 miles around to get to Columbus, and we're just 3 miles away, so it was quite a detour.
And this is kind of where you guys came in to help us, because we lost 100 bales with the flood that were out in the pasture. 30 floated away, and the rest were covered in 6 foot of water. And people were dropping off hay, whichever was very good at Columbus, but they couldn't come across the highways down to us. So it all had to come from the west, and so we thank you guys so much because you were able to bring hay in from the west for us. It was desperately needed.
Our water was up here for a good 3-4 days before it started to really drop, and you could notice it dropping. Our neighbors, it took them 16 days to get back into their driveway. And when we finally got down there, you could see all the sand deposits 5-6 feet tall. And where my bales sit on the high ridge is what we call the high ridge, and never had any problems. The bales have been submerged 3/4 of the way up. They look like giant sponges. The road that we take to get down to them, the county road, doesn't exist. It's carved out. There's no road left. The government came out and started cleaning up cattle carcasses at that point. I watched a convoy come down the road of 12-15 vehicles for almost 2 weeks straight. We have to clean up the livestock that's no longer with us, and then we start looking at fencing, because the critters that did stay were able to survive. We got to have somewhere to put them. A lot of us lost so much fence in this. A lot of places are so wet you can't get to them right now. And then you hope that you have food for them. I mean, that's where all this has been a godsend, because like I said, I lost over 60 bales of hay down there. That would have got me to spring pasture. So then you start going, okay, where do you get the hay from? Farm Rescue happened to be down there trying to help out, seeing what they could do, whether it's deliver hay to people with their trucks or donate hay. And my husband happened to run into somebody down there, and they said we could help.
The water receded quite a bit, and we started moving cattle out. For probably the next 8 to 10 days, all we did is round up cattle. We moved cattle with airboats, horses, four-wheelers, whatever we can use, and we walked a lot. There were some cattle that were stranded on some islands. What ground became islands. We took airboats out there and gave them some square bales. And when I seen how many there were, we couldn't handle it. It was too much for us to do, so we knew we needed to get some help. And the National Guard got hold of us and said they'd do a hay drop. So we ended up dropping 18 bales of hay to the stranded steers. That was over probably maybe a week period that they did that. They did 2 different drops. The help we received from all over. But when you really think about the ag industry, we take care of our own. I wouldn't call it surprising. It's just nice. Farm Rescue got me a load of dried distiller's grain and then several loads of hay. I believe it was through Brad and Carissa. You know, I really don't know how it come to be, but they're a great organization, and you know, they do good things, and yeah, a couple loads here and there. The reason they do it is because they care.
When you can't find hay, we called to over probably 30 people trying to buy hay, our neighbors, and we're proud people that's hard for us to ask for help, but you can't let your cattle die.
A person from your organization just called me. I think he got my name from someone else that I had talked to about hay also. And I said, well, I'd be very interested in any help you could give. And then we did get a load of hay from them, which is very nice because I had never heard of this organization before.
It gives you hope. All you hear in the news is bad things. And that's probably the one thing that's come out of this, is makes you realize there are still a lot of good people and a lot of good Christians in this world that are willing to help people when they're down.
Farm Rescue is amazing, whether it's myself or our neighbors. They help so many people in the area. A phone call here, somebody that knows somebody here. My husband's grown up here all of his life, so he has many connections from his job to being a personal life and knowing friends and family. Everybody said, can you help me? He placed a call. Farm Rescue says, yeah, we can help you. And it's like, okay. It was a godsend. I mean, you gave somebody hope again.
I would absolutely recommend them to anybody that was in need, and they have some awfully good resources too to help you out. I just want to tell everybody thank you. It's nice to see the support. It is very overwhelming. Sometimes you don't know what to do. We're not even, I would say, in the cleanup phase. We're just in the maintaining phase. We're trying to take care of what we have left for livestock. We still got some cows calving. We are trying to just fix stuff right now. It just takes so long to get the basics done because you're not equipped for the day-to-day. I mean, it's getting better, but we still have 150 cows that aren't even home yet. They're in a neighbor's cornfield, so we have to drive over there every day and feed them and take care of them. It's just things like that. It took us 6 weeks to get power back to our calving barn, where my office is and processing facilities, and now we're just working on the fences and roads getting there. We got to get the road fixed first. It's going to be a long, long road to recovery, and it'll never be the same.
We have lost probably 40 acres with everything. As far as the debris is on top of the ground, it's pretty deep in places. It's a lot to do and a lot of money to try to move all that sand, and I'm not sure what we're going to do at this time. So it's pretty much just work on a little part of fence at a time and just keep going.
We are lucky that we are home, because a lot of people just east of us may never get back in their homes. It'll be something we'll never forget. And we saw so many people that are helping that have been affected themselves. And someday when we are able to get back on our feet, we plan to try to help and pay back someday too.
The biggest thing to wrap your brain around is the power of water and the volume of it, how it can do so much devastation. Because when we left, those cattle were on huge sand ridges. They were high and dry. But the river was so powerful, it physically took the sand ridges out from underneath them and swept them cattle away. You know, coming down the lane, it was, the fences and the trees all over and the road being gone, and then you come around the corner and there's dead calves laying there. Those calves never had a chance when the water's 30-some degrees and standing in it for 24 to 36 hours. That's probably the hardest part, was the baby calves. You know, we really haven't decided what we're gonna do yet. I know there's a couple different programs out there, but it's gotta be cost effective. You know, if you go out there and spend $500,000, $1 million, will it still be a productive farm ground, or is it just gonna be a piece of ground that myself, my family, and my father put $1 million into, let alone the government, with no return? You know, the biggest need right now is probably feed and labor and fencing. We can't do really any fencing right now because it's still pretty wet. It's tearing the fence out, removing the debris, and then going back in there with heavy equipment and repairing where the fence was. I mean, it's just not a simple put the fence back kind of deal. It is a long road, but day by day, you gotta keep trying and see what happens.
You think it takes 3 to 4 months to make hay during the summer. I don't even know if we're gonna make hay out of some of these pastures or meadows this year. And some people don't even have pasture to graze. A lot of people will have to figure out if they can afford to dry lot their cows for the summer if they don't have pasture, or you face the reality that it's not going to be cost effective to keep them and feed them and dry lot them, so you look at selling them. And some people, that's their whole life. The Nebraska state calf crop is in the hundreds of thousands up to $1 million, they're saying, for cows or calves being lost. It's going to add up. It's going to hit us somewhere. It might not be now, it might not be 6 months, but you look a year down the road trying to make up for the lost calves, it's not going to be there. I know things have slowed down and people have given a lot already. I just don't want people to forget about us. Everybody will be in the summer months enjoying summer at the lakes and all that, and that's when we're still going to try to put our land back together with our fences. The fencing supplies have been the shortest in supply and the highest in demand. It's costly thousands of dollars to produce that fencing to replace. So just don't forget about us. Check on a neighbor once in a while. If you haven't heard from them, make sure they're doing okay. Some days are better and some days are a little more gloomy. But I thank everybody for everything they've done. It's made a huge difference. Farm rescues played a huge role in it, coordinating drop sites all through Columbus, Schuyler, Richland. There's all kinds of groups that are trying to pull donations together. We had a crew in here last week come from Ohio, the Ohio Relief Haulers. Everybody's trying to help, and that's what makes this a go. If we didn't have the help coming in, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing right now and try to put it back together. My livestock would be sitting at the sale barn right now. So your donations, whether it's the truck drivers or the donors, thank you. It means the world, literally, to us. I'd give you all a big hug if I could right now. You've made it to where we can take another day and figure out where we go and continue to heal.